Welcome to GoEd's Office of Rural Development webinar on completing the application for the Targeted Business Tax Credit Program. James Dixon from our staff is here to walk you through the process, and I'll turn it over to James.
Thank you, Nan. We want to introduce you to the application for the Targeted Business Tax Credit. Try to explain it to you so that it is as simple as possible and so that you can navigate it easily and get through and get your application submitted on time. So first step, of course, would be to go to business.utah.gov, which is the GoEd website. And all of our resources for all of GoEd, of course, is there, but we want you to go into programs and then drop into rural development programs. Scroll down through this page and you'll find several tabs. All of these tabs represent our programs, whether they're grants or tax credits. This one, third to the bottom, is Targeted Business Tax Credit. We'll have you open that up. If you want information about the Targeted Business Tax Credit, the general information can be found here in the form of a flyer. Let me open that up for you. You'll see that the Targeted Business Tax Credit is designed to encourage private investment and job creation in rural Utah counties with populations of less than 25,000 people. This continues to explain what the incentive is. It's a tax credit which is refundable up to potentially $100,000 per applicant, with a cap of $300,000 overall that will be granted or offered or allocated, we should say, for this year. We have a scenario down here that helps you understand how you qualify or how a business might qualify and what they might get as a result of this tax credit. Some definitions here for you. This is a cursory introduction into the program. We'll go into these things a little bit more detail. But once you have a general understanding of what the Targeted Business Tax Credit is and that you feel like it might work for you and your business as an opportunity, then we invite you to go back to the page and into that tab again and open up the application itself. This is where we want to introduce you to the details of the application. These top three paragraphs are essentially what we just talked about in the flyer. We'll have you review that. I have a link right here. The Targeted Business Tax Credit is tied to what we know as enterprise zones. So the first requirement for any business to be apply for this is that they have to have a project that's going to occur in an existing enterprise zone. Enterprise zones are established by local governments through our office, and those are established on 5-year terms. Within those zones, businesses can receive tax credits for their capital investments and job growth. Well, the Targeted Business Tax Credit is a part of that as well, although it's a separate opportunity. In the enterprise zone, you'll find tax credits, but in the Targeted Business Tax Credit, you'll find a refundable tax credit. I'll explain that here in just 1 minute, but we want to make you aware of this first link that if you open it up, you will be able to search for the area in which your business exists or where it will exist. And if you see this population of red, you will know that that is an enterprise zone. If it's not populated in red, for example, we've got areas right here down in, for example, Oakley. If you have a business in Oakley, Oakley doesn't have an established enterprise zone, so this targeted business tax credit would not work there. But in these other areas populated in red throughout the state, and if we pull back this map and show you the whole map, you can see that enterprise zones are established in many counties throughout the state, and also in small communities. You might find some enterprise zones down in Moab and in Grand County. You can see populated in red, those represents enterprise zones. So as long as you are in an enterprise zone, or your business will be, or your project will be, that would be your first qualification for this tax credit. The tax credit is post-performance, which means that you will need to do your project, and then after the project is done, then come back to us and claim your credit certificates for the investments and jobs that you've created. I want to introduce you to this section here, right here in the middle, what you will need. And I put this up here so that you will be able to prepare up front before entering into the full application. And this will give you essentially everything that you will need to have when you get into the application itself. General information, business name. We will want to know your primary NAICS code. In other words, identify the primary industry that you are involved in. Of course, your contact information is always required. From there, we will need a detailed scope of work of your project. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about more what a project looks like, but in preparation, that project will have to be described to us. Each of these applications that come through, yours and others, will be competitively scored. The best projects, given the fact that we only have $300,000 per year to allocate, we're looking for the best, highest impact projects. So we will want a clear, clean understanding of what you are going to invest in, how that work is going to be accomplished, what your time frame is going to be, what you expect your finished project to look like, how many new employees you will have, what will you pay them. Also, we would be interested here in this point number 3, detailed description of the project's economic impact. How is it going to positively affect the existing enterprise zone, and how is it going to affect the overall economic development goals of the county or the city in which your project will exist. Number 4 here, we want to see the number of anticipated jobs that you'll be creating, wages that you'll be paying, and very critical to this is your project budget, including estimates and bids and so forth, and your project timeline. How will you do this? When will you do this in the allotted time it can occur? In order for credits to be granted for the creation of jobs, we have to establish a baseline. So this number 8 here, we will require that you give us 4 quarters worth of your DWS 33H form, which is a Utah Employer Quarterly Wage List and Contribution Report. That helps us to see how many employees you currently have, and then be able to award you on the number of new jobs you create over and above that. Any maps or drawings, blueprints, so forth that might be related to your project, we would like for you to upload those. And we will need a letter of support from your local economic development director or an elected official in the area as well. We would highly encourage you, before you enter into the application, to meet with your local economic development director or an elected official to introduce them to what you plan to do or what your idea is for a project. That way you can get their buy-in early, and they will know exactly what you anticipate doing, and they can write a letter of support that backs your project. The application is open. It opened as of January 1st, and it will close February 1st. If there is a need to extend the application period, that can only be done by the Governor's Rural Partnership Board. We don't anticipate that that will be extended at this juncture. So we encourage you highly to get in and get this application completed by February 1st, after which the application portal will be closed, and all of the applications from then will begin to go through an evaluation stage. We understand that this targeted business tax credit program offers up some very interesting and different terminology and definitions. I have a button here that I'd invite you to open up so that you can read some of these unique unique terminology. For example, you'll see throughout the application the description of a community investment project, a CIP. What does that mean? CIP is a project that the business applicant is proposing that includes significant capital investment and or significant new employment. The word significant is key there. We will want to see an impact in any given area that is more than normal, more jobs created, larger investments made for the growth of a business than what we might normally see. Here's the description of that enterprise zone, again with a link to it, so that you can identify whether you are in an enterprise zone or not. What does it mean to have a capital investment, new construction, expansion, or purchase of depreciable equipment? That's essentially what we're talking about when we're talking capital investment. High-paying jobs is described. What an allocation cap means. This is a term that we use in this program, and the amount of potential refundable tax credit that is approved, that an approved community investment project has been allotted. And here's the big one. Here's the definition that everybody wonders about. What is a refundable tax credit? A tax credit that a claimant may make regardless of whether or not the claimant has a state tax liability for the taxable year or not. What this essentially means is that, for example, if your business has a state tax liability of, say, $25,000, and we have approved your community investment project to be allocated some $50,000 in tax credits, that means when you make that claim, your $25,000 tax liability will be eliminated, and you will receive a refundable tax credit check from the state for the balance of another $25,000. This is the only program that we have in the state that offers a refundable payback tax credit. Once you've understand the terminology and feel comfortable, move on to the next page and begin your application. This will require that you select what county you are in. Essentially, if you can't find your county on here, that means you are not in a qualifying enterprise zone. So that either it will need to be adjusted, or your project needs to be somewhere else, or you simply don't qualify. That's probably the first door you'd have to enter. Let's determine if you're in an existing enterprise zone. This runs you through an eligibility quiz. They're basically yes or no answers. For example, is the business entity which is applying for the TBTC Community Investment Project physically located within the current enterprise zone? Again, there's the link. You can answer yes and move on to the next one. So the quiz helps you to further get down into the details of the program to see if you qualify. Let's say, for example, if you, in this question that says, do at least 51% of the employees currently employed at the business entity's facilities, which is located in an enterprise zone, reside in either the county or in which the enterprise zone is located or an adjacent one. If you were to answer no, you would get a prompt that says the claimant entity is not eligible. If you run into this, you give us a call to confirm that, but that essentially helps you to also not go any further in this application if it is determined that you don't qualify. So those prompts will help you to make sure that you use your time expeditiously and you're not wasting it in an application that you won't receive an approval for. So we'll want you to go through each one of those and answer the questions pretty much for your sake. There's nothing that's going to kick you out of the system at this juncture. It's a yes or no with certain prompts. Once you understand that, I encourage you to go to the next page. Oops, this is telling me I didn't finish a field, which I didn't here. We'll say you're in Carbon County. Go to the next page. It tells me now that I can begin to enter that general information that we talked about early on at the front page, where we said what you will need. Business entity name, how long have you been in business? What's your primary NAICS code? I don't know. Well, we do have a link there for NAICS code identification. You find your industry, your subsector industry, and enter this 4 or 6 digit NAICS code to help us proceed to know what industry you're involved in. Construction, retail, and public utilities don't qualify for the targeted business tax credit. In other words, construction industry, we should say. Obviously, there might be a community investment project that is a construction project, but the industry itself is not eligible for this. Only other businesses. How many employees do you currently have? You'll want to enter that. General contact information, general business contact information. Again, we're going to ask you, well, is the physical address of your business entity different than your mailing address? If you say yes, then it'll prompt you to fill out the other portion of that. If it's not, then you can proceed. Check all the boxes. Move on to the next page. Whoops, it's asking me to enter all of those fields. So let me get to the back end of this, and we will see if we can't expedite this a little bit. And you want to stop that right here. Got all your general information in. You've identified your NAICS code. We invite you to go to the next page. And when you do that, it'll take you to this page 4. Here is where we will ask that you put a narrative in here about your project. What is your community investment project? When will you start it? It's important that you know that if you were to start it in 2019, that would be good, because we really truly only have until the end of 2020 to complete your project. December 31st, 2020 would be the end of your targeted business tax credit contract. So no, I hope that you will know coming into this that you will have an application in, a project approval time frame. So you will have anywhere from a year and a half to maybe a year and 10 months at maximum to complete your full community investment project. We have a field here in which you'll put that narrative. You're going to describe your scope of work. Please describe the scope of work of your community investment project in detail. Please include in your description, 1, the significant new capital development the business plans to make with this CIP. 2, how the work will be accomplished and over what time frame. 3, what will be the final results of the finished project. And 4, if the project includes significant new employment, how many new jobs will be created and at what anticipated wage. You have approximately 1,000 words of space in here, and we hope that you will fill that with this kind of detail. The second narrative will be, please describe your community investment project's economic impact. Please describe, 1, how the CIP coordinates with the goals of the enterprise zone in which it will be completed, and 2, how the CIP coordinates with the overall economic development goals of the community or the municipality in which it will be completed. In other words, what's the job creation going to be like? Will there be some property tax increase because you've added property tax value? Revenue to the income, to revenue to the community as a result of new jobs created, for example, or new production occurring in the area. Just explain what you feel like the community impact will be. This next section, new employment, we will want to see how many jobs you're going to create. 2 to 5 maybe, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, 20 plus. If we were to go to a preview of that page in your application, you'll see that we do require that 51% of the new hires reside within the area of the enterprise zone. And your ranking on your application will be associated with the higher levels of employment or overall impact on the area in which you are hiring. So the more the better paying, the better. That's the next section here, which is what will you pay them? 100% of the county average wage, more, 110, 125%. If you're wondering what the county average wage is for the area in which your project will be, there is a link for that to determine at what level you will pay. Are you going to offer your new employees insurance or other benefits? It's a yes or no answer. A yes would bode well for you. It does not eliminate you though, but we are looking for the best and most impactful projects and hiring. I have a couple of other sections here. Do you currently own property in which the community investment project will be located? This bodes well for you if you can say yes. We are very interested in particular in what we have deemed shovel-ready projects, something that's ready to go right away that we know it can happen within the year or within the year and a half time frame of the contract. That will be important to have a yes answer on that. How about financing? Are you, again, we're just highlighting that we're looking for shovel-ready projects, investments that are going to occur right away that will also help you score better. If you go to the next page, you will be able to upload your budget. We'll expect to see a solid budget describing estimates and what you will build or buy or do, and a dollar figure tied to those things. Time frame would be next. You will upload that as well. Simply clicking on the button, choosing a file that says that this is that you prepared, and then add that to your file. we'll want to see that DWS 330 or 33H form for 4 quarters. You can choose a file, and if you can't get them all in one upload, then you can add additional responses until you have all four quarters there. If there are maps associated with your community investment project, upload those. Again, simple to do, especially if you've got them all ready to go in your computer system, ready to upload. Any drawings or blueprints, again, choosing a file and uploading it, and you can add responses as you feel necessary. The more information we have, the better your application is going to be, and the better or the better your opportunity to receive an tax credit allocation. Finally, this is critical too. We want to see the letter of support from your for your project from the local economic development director or your elected official. They probably would have sent that to you by the time you make this application. We will want you to upload it and include it, and then move on to the next page. The next page is essentially the submission page. Answer a couple of questions that say that you agree to and understand the terms of this. And once you do click on those, then it will allow you to submit your full application. If in the event that we receive an application that doesn't quite have everything we need, we will receive this application, and our staff, likely myself or Nan, will contact you and ask for additional information. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have also prior to your beginning an application, so that you can make your time in the application as short as possible and as effective as possible. So call us up, ask us any questions. My phone number is 801-538-8687. Ask for James, and I'll walk you through this application one-on-one if necessary. Thank you for your attention. We appreciate your interest in the Targeted Business Tax Credit, and we hope that we see your application and your very impactful community investment project. Thank you.